All right, hey traders, TG Watkins here. How's it going out there? Good to see everybody today. And we had now PPI and CPI underneath our belt. Thank you, Amir. Looks like we're good to go. And we should be live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Good to see everybody out there. So the market is kind of crawling up. Yeah, I think yesterday was kind of the move. Market gapped up and then continued to run. Today, it's looking like it wants to push a little bit further. I've been trying to look around. There is some possibility that these things move up, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be that strong of a day. Kind of been looking at some of the internals, and they just don't look awesome. And then the other thing that we're looking at is, well, price is coming right up into the daily 50. Now, it can push a little bit, but I'm a little concerned about there. So from a day trade perspective, okay, maybe we can grab a little bit, but from an overall swing trading perspective, the market has basically done what I thought it was going to do. I think so. Last Monday, we had the really big downdraft from the Bank of Japan and the carry trade and everything like that everyone's been talking about, and so we had that really big move. And usually that's going to be the washout move. You can see here on the daily chart, obviously we got super duper oversold, and it took a little bit of a double bottom before price actually started going up. But from there, we've managed to move up, and this is what I was looking for overall. Is I said, well, we're probably going to head over the hourly 50 at some point. We're probably going to head up around the daily 21. We actually went further than the daily 21, but now that we're up here at the daily 50. Yeah, that's starting to be the area where I'm going to start looking for some resistance. You can also see here, we're right back into the previous price support resistance area, just price congestion. And yeah, it just kind of seems like this is getting a little bit sketchy up there. So I'm going to see if at some point we actually start to get a little bit of a pullback here. Now, the pullback might be a great thing. The pullback might actually be into support and help set us up for a continuation to the upside if the market's really done going down. But we just don't know that yet. We don't have that information yet. We have to wait for price to actually come down like this in order to then see if it's going to work or not. And so that's kind of my next goal and my next step, is to see if this thing comes down like that, and then where it goes from there, whether it's down or up. So we're just going to have to give that a little bit of time and room to occur. But until then, the market is still up. We've kind of been watching this thing, seeing how much further is going to go up, keeping it kind of on a short leash if it's going to do something. And it's just kind of the internals were like, just a little iffy today. I'll show you kind of like what that looks like. Oh, it looks like we're finally starting to kind of go green. All of this stuff was negative and mixed, and you could just see a little bit, mediocre down in through here. Looks like it's finally starting to warm up a little bit. So maybe we've got a bit of a move to the upside. We'll just have to see how far the market wants to go. But the daily 50 and that trend line, I think, are eventually going to be an issue. We just have to use the lower time frames to really figure out when that's going to be. Now, today, even though big picture, I'm looking for the market to eventually pull back. Today, I was with the Moxie group and talking to them, and we were looking for day trades and trying to look at this stuff. And I said, I was like, hey, generally speaking, I'm looking for a bearish setup. I want to see if the market's going to pull back, if today's going to be the day. But then as we were looking at all of our indicators and our clues and some volatility and stuff, those things said, no, don't short it. Like, this market may not be ready to go quite right yet, 2 minute, 5 minute, but then right away we said, don't short it. And so that was at least the right answer there, is let's not go on the short side. And so that kept us out of one of those trades. So fantastic for that. Now it looks like we are kind of getting a little bit moved to the upside. Let me take a look at this and see. Yeah, there was a move. Let's see, right about there, and about 100%. All right. Well, we've got some stuff to talk about once I get back on the mic with the Moxie group, and we can review that trade and look at that. All right. So we'll have to see how far this thing wants to go. Let's see. IWM. Yeah, Greg. I know. I'm in the Moxie group, but remember, you guys are subscribers. You're paid. I'm also on the free side, so I don't want to be giving everything away. Let's see. IWM. Looking at a 5 minute. Yeah, see, this is generally what I've been looking for. I want to see if these things continue finding some support in through here, but the Moxie indicator is just not quite set up. So I do think that there's going to be a move, like we've seen with the S&P. I think there's going to be a move to the upside, but this is still not confirmed as far as, okay, we can go swing long and we can say, yes, everything's behind us and we can just keep going to the upside. I just don't quite see that yet. Even Tesla, we're looking at some of the mega caps, which are kind of in various positions. So I do think that there could be a move. We are starting to get over this hourly 50, and I think that there could be a move to the upside. But this daily chart is telling me that we are still not quite confirmed to say, I think this is the lowest, and I definitely think price is going to keep going higher. It might, but it's just not confirmed there. So if anything, if you're interested in Tesla, I would say see if that hourly 50 can hold. And then you kind of, we can get a move, but I think that we're also going to still deal with some sort of pullback before we really get going, if we go. I just can't confirm it yet. All right. So let's look at ground TNX. I know a lot of people, CGI, have been talking about these, and this is the other thing that I've been discussing. I said, hey, I think FOMC, Fed, all that kind of stuff. I do think interest rates are going to be coming down. And you can see right here, what do we have? Price over the 50, Moxie indicator below 0. That's an inverse trampoline move. And I said, yeah, I think that the interest rates are going to start coming down. I think that the market of interest rates have already priced this in and figured this thing out. And so, yes, the next step is going to be the FOMC actually starting to cut rates, which we all know they basically came out very dovish, 3 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks at this point. And now we're going to be looking at them starting to cut rates in September, right? So that all started right here again with the inverse trampoline move of the TNX on the weekly chart. So price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. So that's that concept. I wanted to show you guys kind of a proof of concept here. And so if you take that idea and you apply it to something like, gosh, even, Apple, I think eventually we're going to get a pullback like right here. So exactly this. You see how price was over the 50 and the Moxie indicator was below 0? It was up for a little bit, but it pulled back. And that's what I'm looking for on the TNX on that weekly chart. We're looking for that on, say Tesla. We're still not totally confirmed, something like this. I do think that there's going to be an up move, but it's not the move yet. So let me know if you guys have any kind of questions of what we're looking for. FNGU, this is the leverage ETF of the FANG stocks. Once again, Monday was pretty much the low. We got that figured out, but this daily chart still not confirmed to the swing long side. This is still, in my view, basically just a bounce off of the lows, a bounce possibly in a downtrend. We just don't know yet. This is just not set up yet. So this is the bounce, and we'll have to see what happens with the pullback, because really it's the pullback that really tells us if something is going to go or not go. That's the test of support. All right, let's see. AEM. Yeah, very, very choppy in through here, isn't it? Yeah, some of these names have had a hard time. Gold. Yeah, I remember. I was thinking, what was I thinking? I was thinking tech, semiconductors. So gold, GDX, they have been in pretty good trends. You can see here AEM perfectly hit the 30 ATR and perfectly hit the 30 ATR, and so it needed to pull back a little bit. If we look down at here on the daily and the hourly, you can see AEM, what to do? Perfectly tested the daily 50 and recovered. So that looks pretty good to me. It is up here at some resistance. So generally speaking, I'd like to say, yeah, this is looking okay. But let's see if it can kind of get a little bit closer to the hourly 50. If it can hold that support, if the Moxie indicator can get back over 0, then it's looking good. If I were to look at GDX, then that is, I was looking yesterday, talking to the Moxie traders, and they said, I don't want to go chase it up here. Let's look for a little bit of a pullback. And we are at least starting to get that pullback. I don't know how much further down it'll go. It might go further, it might not. But generally speaking, I would really like to see if price can actually test and engage the hourly 50 SMA. So if we could get a little bit more downside in something like the GDX, I think that'd be great. And part of the reason why I'm saying that, and like I said with the TNX, and like I showed you with Apple, and what I showed you with Tesla, notice that price is over the 50, the Moxie indicator is still below 0. So I'd really like to see if we can get that thing to kind of come down and test something in through there. Yeah. So, and yeah, just a little bit further down, I think that would be good. And if that works out, then this daily chart is now starting to look good. You guys see how you finally have the 8 over the 21? So if that can generally hold, then I think that'll be good. And if we look at the bigger picture of GDX, kind of looking like AEM, of course, they're going to be very similar. It's in their same category, but like right there, pulled back to some support, and basically right there on the monthly chart also kind of came down into support. So yeah, generally speaking, I like what's happening with the gold miners. I am interested in getting into them. I just kind of need to find that spot to get in. Okay, then what are we looking at? MMM. Funny enough, I really actually just looked at that. Let me take a look at one more thing, because seeing the market kind of move a bit. Yeah, I'll have to see if there's a pullback, anything to do. The VIX and the VIX continues to go down, which is good. That's going to be, for now, bullish for the market. Let's see. Triple M, looks like it's pretty up there. So I would say right here, I'd be a little bit cautious. Obviously, it looks good. If you have a longer term position, it's looking good. But if you're looking to initiate a position, just even looking at the monthly or the weekly time frame, I'd have to say I would like to see it consolidate, flag, pull back, something like there. I'm not sure I'd really want to go chase that right there. And so if we look at the lower time frames, oh yeah, it jumped up on earnings. Yeah, I think it's going to need a little bit of time to consolidate. Clearly, you can see in through here. Clearly, you can see it right through there. And I don't know, let's maybe the sideways, maybe a little bit into the 21, because if you can see, it has a pretty good history of wanting to get into the 21 EMA, even on the daily chart. The start of that would be, hey, can it hold the hourly chart? So that monthly, weekly, it's up there. It seems a little extended. Clearly, this thing went straight up on earnings. I think it's going to need to consolidate a little bit more. All right, then let's see, STX. Let's look at the higher time frame, get our bearings. And interesting, STX, double top. And again, right at that 30 ATR. So it pulled back. There you go. Now let's see if that pullback is into support and if that's going to actually hold. Let's kind of take a look at these lower time frames. Yeah, okay, so STX, I'm going to say basically the same thing. Same thing as Tesla, same thing as Apple at the time. For now, this was a bounce off the lows, but I can't confirm anything yet. Vijay, I think you're pretty familiar with what I've been talking about and everything. You see how this and this could look similar to each other? Basically, here, arch of the foot, and here, arch of the foot. So that's why I would say, just like Tesla, I think we need to wait. There could be a pullback, there could be a flag, something, but this is not confirmed long yet, just like that. So Vijay, I'd actually go back to whatever the date that was, right around April, looks like April, May. And I would study that on both the daily and hourly chart and see if you can see the same similar setups on the STX currently, and just keep watching that. But what you'll notice is we do still have price over the 50 and the Moxie indicator below 0. So I think just a little too early on that. And then GNRC, that's the Chris Brecher special. He loves to talk about this one. Talks about GNRC when he also talks about weather. It hasn't really moved a ton, but from the overall picture, I'd say it's looking okay. I mean, that monthly chart looks like it's just beginning. Hasn't really broken out. Maybe that's part of its problem. It's right there at some prior resistance. Maybe it can break out eventually. Maybe it's going to have to wait for the next hurricane. Yeah, Cat. I know Cat. Chris likes to talk about Cat a lot too. And, right there, let's see, at the 21, at the 21. So, yeah, okay. Generally speaking, very long term, the setup looks decent. But if we come in here, it's been kind of choppy. So I would have to chalk this up to, if you're going to trade it, if you're going to look at it, I'd have to almost look at it as more of an investing type stock, just because I do like the way that monthly and weekly looks. But you can see there's just a ton of movement up here on the daily and hourly, and it's not very consistent yet. It's barely in an uptrend, barely. So that's kind of would look at everything. Well, I guess that was earnings, but I was going to say everything kind of got trounced, 2 weeks ago after the FOMC, carry trade, Bank of Japan, all that kind of stuff. And so now we're just trying to see if these things can get back up, but see, just a little bit too early. So, Vijay, I know you were asking that one. Do you see here how currently that and that look similar, right? So that's why I'm saying it could work out, but it's still just a little too early. All right, so we got that. Oh, Ray, you were looking for a short? Gosh, trying to short Triple M. That doesn't seem like the greatest idea. It could go down because it is so high and it's extended and all that kind of stuff, but clearly people are enjoying it. So if there is a down move, I would consider it more of a pullback into potential support. I wouldn't try to short this thing. The only thing I could say, the other problem is, what if it just goes sideways? That would be the other concern. This is clearly in an uptrend. Now, maybe you don't want to go buy it up here, but I don't think I'd want to go short it either. I don't think this thing looks like a reason to really go down. I mean, if you're trying to short it, as I said, you can get into an area right here where it just kind of pulls back a little bit and then goes sideways. Or if you're trying to short it, I mean, you better be Johnny on the spot, because you're trying to catch this tiny little down move in basically this entire up move. Yeah. So I wouldn't try and short that. Yeah. And let's look at ZS. Looking at an inverse trampoline move on the weekly. No, nope, not an inverse trampoline move. It's actually a regular trampoline move, because notice the Moxie indicator on the weekly chart is still above 0 and price is below the 50. So for now, that's a potential regular trampoline move. I also see a double bottom. So I see a potential double bottom. Now, this may not work. If it works, great, goes up like this. But this could also just be testing the lows, and it could continue to go down because you are underneath the moving averages. Okay, you are beneath these major moving averages. So if we did that and we looked here, we need this to confirm. So it's trying. Here's a double bottom. There's some positive divergence. But just like I said on Tesla, on the S&P, on the market as a whole, this whole move has really just been a bounce off the lows. This is the move up off the lows. I need to see price come down and pull back and confirm support before it can actually go up. Okay, so I would watch and see if there's some sort of pullback, and if the pullback holds and goes up, great, then there's a trade. But if the pullback continues pulling back and doesn't hold and fails, then no trade. All right, yeah, Toast, that's another one I've been kind of watching. I'm a little mixed on it. Big picture, I do think that this thing is trying to go. It's kind of like that GNRC trade. I do think that monthly and that weekly look like that's trying to go. Like if we check back in a year from now, maybe it looks like it's gonna go. But as far as kind of swing trading here and now, that is some major flagging. That is a lot of chop to have to deal with for this thing to finally possibly move. So I don't know. We'll have to see whenever this thing finally sets up in a more major way and if it can actually break out. But yeah, really, just if you like it for an investment, if you like it for kind of that monthly, weekly time frame, I think that looks good. But it's kind of the same thing as GNRC. I can't quite figure out when this thing is going to go or anything else like that. Okay. So let's kind of circle back around, we'll wrap this up, and let's look at the SPX. It did get a little bit of a pop. Let's come over to here. Yep. And I want to see, yes, continue to move up. That's what we're looking at. We're going to have to figure out how far this thing wants to go before it finally runs into resistance. But I think we're getting pretty close to that. As I said, it could keep going a little bit further, but I'm getting a little bit nervous up here with the overall market being up here because everything I'm looking at says eventually we should see price pull back, and we are starting to come back up into this resistance. So this has been a really, really good run. Very nice for things, but as I said, we can keep going further. Maybe we can get into some chop as we transition. PPI, CPI has been good and chill, but eventually, careful. I think that there's going to be a pullback. And then we just have to see if that pullback is into support or not. Okay, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And for those of you on YouTube, Facebook, and X, we'll see you next week. Let me know if you have any questions. And for the rest of the Moxie group, I'm going to make a post for you in the chat room here and see what we can do about stuff. All right, guys.